Howdy folks, welcome back. So in the last one we set up the Goblin gates. So for this one, let's set up Goblin Triggers. So what that'll do is it'll allow us to have locked gates. So like I run up to this, try to open it up, can't do it. But I have a little trigger right there. So if I spawn a dude and send him to go stand on it, then the gate will unlock. So this in conjunction with those Goblin gates can do for some pretty cool little puzzle elements. And we'll set the gates up to where you can use multiple instances of it and multiple triggers without having to create multiple blueprints. So all these are just the same one. You can just duplicate it, change the name, change the, like say I got this one, let's say I want to change it to the ice one. So yeah, so let's get started. Boop, boop. There it is. Alright, so I'm over here in our project. And one of the first things we want to do is open up our character. And then over in his viewport, I'm going to highlight the mesh. Because when I add a component, this will automatically parent it to the mesh. So I'm going to add a component of a sphere collision. So see how it's automatically applied to that, and it'll just follow that part around. I'm going to set its radius to about 100, and this will be our interact detection radius, but I'm just going to call it interact radius. That way it gives us a little bit more of anything inside this sphere we'll be able to interact with when we push a button. So under the project settings, I'm going to go to the inputs, and I'm going to add a new one called interact. I think the standard nowadays is E for a keyboard game, so I'm going to go with that. So now in the event graph of our character, I want to add that action event. For the action event, interact. And then that's all we'll do here for now. So in our blueprints folder, under the blueprints, under the environment, I'm going to add a new folder for Goblin Triggers. My spelling has not gotten any better, in case you were hoping. I'm sorry to disappoint. So first thing I want to do is I want to create a blueprint interface called interact underscore BPI. And what a blueprint interface does is it allows multiple blueprints to communicate to each other as long as this interface is applied. So if I put this, if I apply it to the character like so under the class settings, oh yeah, we've already done one, so you're pretty familiar with it now, but I'll just go over it again. So if I add the interact blueprint interface, then I can call the events in here from the player or from whatever I'm trying to interact with, vice versa, etc. So for that function that it creates, instead of new functions there, I'm going to just call it interact. And that's all we need to do right now. So inside the player, when we push the button, we want to find out what we're overlapping that we can interact with. So we'll do get all actors with interface. This will pull all the blueprints in the level that has that interface applied. The interface we want is going to be that interact. And then we want to check each of them. So we're going to drag off this will pull all of the actors in the level into an array that is outlined right here. So from here we want to check each one of them. So we'll do a for each loop. Hook the execute up. And then for the array element, we want to find out if it is overlapping actor interact radius. This will check to see if what we're trying to interact with is overlapping our interact radius, because if it's not, we don't want it to do anything. But if it is, then we want it to fire off its event. So we'll add a branch at the end. B left click in case you forget. So I'm going to drag this down a little bit. From the array element, if it is overlapping the interact radius, then we want to call interact message on that actor. Alright, so now let's create another blueprint back out in our Goblin Triggers folder. Blueprint class, actor. I'm going to call this gtrigger_bp. I'm going to open that up. And I want to add a platform to identify where I need to send the goblins, and a little box collision to register overlap events. So first thing, I'm just going to add a cube for this. And I'm going to call it platform. I'm going to shrink it down. Nope, too little. Alright, so I'm going to set it to about 0.1, 0.05. Just kind of play around with it till you get the look you like. I think that looks alright, or will look alright in the game. So then I'm going to highlight the platform and add a box collision. Much like the other one, this one will be just a detection radius. So I'm going to scale it up a little bit just to fit our platform, so that anywhere that the goblin goes on it, it'll be like, oh, you're here, I can unlock. Now in the event graph for this, highlight the box, and then down here in the details panel on the right, you'll see it has all these events for the collision. What we want is the on component begin, let me drag this out a little bit, on component begin overlap and end overlap. So this is basically if anything runs into it, it registers this, and when it's not, it registers this one. So on begin overlap, let's get all this out of the way. So on begin overlap, I want to see if the actor that's overlapping has a tag of minion, because I only want them to interact with that one specific actor. So I'm going to add this tag into the goblin to make sure it only fires off when they are overlapping. I'll add a branch, boom, hook that up, and if it is, then we want to add a variable of a boolean called locked ? that will be defaulted to true. But when the minion overlaps it, we want to set that it's unlocked. Then we'll highlight the box one more time, back down and grab that end overlap function. We can just copy and paste this down. Hook it up to the other actor, not component or other component, but you want to make sure it's checking the actor. And then we'll copy that locked. And then when it's not overlapping anymore, then we set it back to locked. One more thing we want to add over here is a variable of a door name that will be a text. And we'll make this editable from the editor. That way each individual instance of this can be changed up. And what this will do is when we are trying to check a door, it'll have a name and the trigger will have a name associated, so when those two names line up, it'll unlock as it's supposed to. That's basically all we got to do right here. So let's double check real quick in the minion and make sure he's got that tag. So in the minion blueprint, under the self, I'm going to go to the details panel and type tag, and then when this pops up, I'm going to click this plus to add that minion tag that we will be looking for. And this will automatically apply every single minion you summon, it will have it. So just to check it, let's go back into the G trigger. You don't have to do this part, I'm just showing you this So I'm going to add a print string that says hello when it unlocks, just to show you real quick. Let me get rid of this nav mesh real quick. That green always throws me off. Goblin Trigger, I'm going to drag one out right here. Oh, one more thing we want to do in the minion. Alright. Same thing as the last time. We want to go to the mesh. Same thing as for the player. He needs an interact radius also. Otherwise he won't register. So we'll highlight the mesh, go to add component, and add the sphere collision. And it can really just kind of be at the bottom there. I'll just call this detection radius. Actually, we can use this for enemy detection later on. So I am going to bump it up to 125, I guess. So you can kind of play around with the values, figure out what you like. But now let's check them out. Yep, so he's unlocked our gate. And it gives it a little bit more of a wiggle room. So now what we want to do is we want to create the door. So I'm going to create another blueprint class of an actor called locked gates. And in that, I'm going to double click and open it up. I'm going to highlight the default root. And what I want to add is a particle system that will be the representation for our gate, because I'm going to be using the the FX variety pack for now, I guess. Bear with me 1 second. I forgot to add the damn thing before starting the video. So, Infinity Blade effects. Where the hell? Oh, God, I scrolled right past it like 5 times, didn't I? Alright, I'll add that to project real quick. Sorry about that. Sorry. Alright, so now I got the Infinity Blade effects. So I'm going to be using the gates. So these are the ones I'm going to be using. So back in the locked gates, for the gate, I'm going to, for the template, I'm going to just set it as the green to begin with, just so we can have a visual representation, and then we'll edit it with the construction script in a minute. What we also want to do is add a box collision that we scale up to encompass the gate, because this will act as the actual keep you out collisionness. So with that selected, we want to go all the way down to the collision tab, and instead of overlap all dynamic, we just want to block everything. So that no matter how hard you try to rush through, it ain't gonna let you. Can't do nothing. Goblin Triggers. So I'm gonna drag that gate out real quick just so we can take a look at it. Look how pretty it is. Look at that greenness. Alright, so in the gates, in the event graph, under the class settings, we want to add that interact interface so that we'll be able to communicate from the player to the gate and tell it to open, or try to open it depending on its locked status. So with it compiled, if you add a blueprint interface and then you try to pull events from the interface and it's not working, you might need to recompile. So after that, you should be able to pull up like event interact. You don't want the action event, you want to add the event interact, because this pulls the event from the blueprint interface and then tries to fire it off. Oop. So when we interact, we want to get all actors of class. This will check just one specific class, but it'll get every single one in the level and compare them. So since we're going to be using multiple Goblin Triggers, we want to check that specific class for its variable. So what was it called? G trigger. And then for each we want to get the one with the name that'll match our door's name. So in our door, we want to add a variable called door name, just like the last one, which will also be a text that is editable from the instance. Let me make sure I did that. Yeah, okay. So we'll get all the actors, and we want to find the singular one that has this name. So we will get door name and find out if it is equal to the door name we're looking at. So this will compare these two and make sure they're the exact same. We'll add a branch, and then we want to hook this up to that, and if it's true, then we want to find out if it's locked. Branch. One more time. And if it is locked, then I'm just going to print a string just to, for demonstrative purposes. Oh no, it's locked. You can't do jack. And if it's not locked, then we want it to open. So we will spawn emitter at location. The location being where our current emitter actually is. So I will drag this out, get its transform. See, the transform is just like this combined all into one. So I'm just going to split this struct so that I can get all of those. Location, rotation, and scale. So I want to spawn the emitter at this place. Then I want to drag off from the emitter template and promote it to a variable called gate opening that we will also make editable from the editor. But for now, I'm just going to default it to the green gate opening. Then what we want to do is we want to just go ahead and destroy the previous gate and the box collision associated, so that as it opens, it allows us to walk through. So it won't work right now, but let's check it. So I can't get through. Go. It's locked. Hello. Oh, it will work. That's right, I set it all up. Okay. But one thing we want to do is to be able to make this gate variable is we're going to go into the construction script. The construction script is a little bit different than the event graph, because when something is being built, like when you drag this out and you're sitting here in the editor, it has been constructed. And then when you press the play button, then it fires its begin play functionality. So if you want anything changed on load up, or on like you're building the level, then you want to do it in the construction script. So what we're going to do in here is I'm going to drag out the gate, and I'm going to set template, and I'm going to drag off the new template, promote it to a variable called gate locked, and make that also editable from the instant. Wait. Door name. Oh, it's because they do match. Okay. I got confused. I was like, wait, it shouldn't have unlocked. I didn't set up the names yet. But that's, since they're both blank, it does match. Alright, so now you'll see I can, over here, when I have the G trigger selected, it has a door name variable over here. So I'm going to set that as intro. And now, since I didn't set up the default for the gate locked, I should go back and do that. So in the construction script, I'm going to set gate green locked as the default. But it can be updated. So you see right now I have gate open and gate locked, so I can change it to, let's say I want it to be the ice. So now it'll just update accordingly. But I'm going to go back to the green for now. Oh, get out of here. So this is set to intro, and this is set to nothing so far. So it should remain locked even if I send old boy over to interact. Hello. You're still locked. Oh, because it's not pulling one that has its own name. Yeah, I'm gonna pull one more out just to set in the corner, because I was wondering why it wasn't set in the, yeah, it wasn't registering because it didn't have a tag associated. But I called that other one intro. Let's do intro on this. For that gate, I'm gonna set the door name to ice. And I'm gonna set it way over here just to show you what you can do with this kind of thing. So I'll duplicate this bad boy and rotate, and I'm going to set it to, let's see, set its door name to ice. The gate opening is ice opening, and the gate locked is ice locked. So the door name is ice. That one's name is ice. Intro, intro, and now with this selected, let me set that thing there. Oh. So now you'll see what you can do is combine these. So I can't get to either one of the gate, or I can't get to that blue gate right now. So let's send him there. So now I can open that one. But I'm not going to be able to open that one until I send him through the gate. Where you at? Why you stuck? If they get stuck, you can really just narrow it up. Whoa, that'll affect the thing over there though. Okay. Let me just move it forward. And then I'll adjust that back. Alright, try one more time. Sometimes there's a bit of, tweaking as you go along, so. And then that's locked. I send my little friend through the tunnel. Not through the tunnel. Get in that tunnel. What are you doing? Alright. So he runs to his place, and then I can unlock the thing. Yeah. So you can combine these. You probably want to replace this, though, with whatever mesh you plan on using, because it gets in the way a little bit. But the functionality's there. So, alright, and you can add as many of these gates into your level as you want, as many gate meshes as if you wanted to do this like with a static mesh instead, then instead of using an emitter here, it would just be a mesh, but everything else would be the same except for you drag out the mesh and then set mesh instead of set template, etc. So, but yeah, so that's it for this one. And in the next one, we'll probably start setting up their ability to detect enemies and start going after them, because we got to get our vampire boy his money. The minions can do it. So, thanks for stopping by.